For being the end of a long-running series, the Steven Universe Future finale really lacked a lot of closure, and I want to talk about that today. Oh yeah, and special shout out to Haley L. of El Dorado Hills, California, but more on that at the end. It's over, isn't it? Isn't it? Isn't it over? I'm just starting to come out of the flu, so I sound awful, and forgive that horrible interpretation, but I had to do it. It might be the last time I ever get to sing a Steven Universe song on here. Hey friends and family members, you have McGann, and this is the Fangirl, where if you're not completely satisfied with the end of Steven Universe Future, well, then we can commiserate together. 2020 must really want us to have a fresh start in the media because so many long-running series have ended that I have no idea what I'll be watching for the rest of 2020 except for Tiger King on an endless loop. And I'm sure I'm not the only one, but I felt very unfulfilled by the ending of Steven Universe. It's not a bad ending, and it does give viewers the initiative to go out and start the next chapter of their own story while trying to be the Steven that they want to see in the world. But all the same, that ending just broke my heart. And I'll be the first to admit that I am really picky on series finales, and I'd rather the show end abruptly with nothing and it just, got canceled, rather than have the writers try to package everything up in a nice little bow for one episode. For example, the last episode of Adventure Time really frustrated me. It gave us closure for several characters, like what happened between Princess Bubblegum and Marceline, but it annoyingly avoided showing us what happened to Finn and Jake after the big war ends. And what was even more upsetting to me was when we flash forward to the not-so-distant future and nobody even knows who Finn is. It's like he lived his life, died of reasons unknown to us, and then got erased from Ooh's existence. And with all the dating turmoil that we've witnessed Finn go through over all the different seasons, I really wanted to see him have that resolve and be with somebody that he was really happy with, or at least get a meet cute with a nice potential mate, so that way we can feel like Finn is going to have a really good next chapter of his life. So the Adventure Time finale just didn't have enough in it for me. To the contrary, in the last episode of regular show, we saw a prominent character die and then a big jump forward in time to see what happened with the rest of Mordecai and Rigby's life, or at least what happened to them through their middle-aged years. And yeah, some of the flash forward events felt like they were coming out of nowhere, but we also got to see characters that we had gotten very attached to go off and live their life and have a nice life. They grew up, they moved on, they didn't spend the rest of their lives pining away for the wrong person or causing catastrophic events so that they could avoid dealing with their feelings. Their stories were completed, and in that regard, the regular show finale was nice. And now we have to add Steven Universe to that list of goodbyes, and honestly, it just breaks me, even though the finale wasn't that sad. To briefly recap the episode for those of you who haven't watched it yet, Steven has an emotional meltdown or a nervous breakdown, or both, and he turns into a giant monster. Everyone bands together and helps him repair from that, and in the last episode, which is a few months later, Steven has made plans to go explore the country by himself. At first, Steven is hurt because everyone except Garnet, Pearl, and Amethyst are just devastated that he's leaving, and Steven even tries to evoke an emotional response by saying, I might never come back again, and giving away all of his stuff because, suicidal much? But Steven eventually corners all of the crystal gems, and they all break down sobbing about how much they love him, and they're gonna miss him, and they're all gonna stay in each other's lives. And so Steven gets that big emotional goodbye that he wants, and the series ends with him just driving out of Beach City. And alright, I don't really hate the idea of Steven driving off on his own to see the rest of the country, but so much else feels off about that ending. I think it was just way too much to try and cram into a 10-minute episode. First of all, we've seen throughout the series that gym temples and kindergartens and stuff are everywhere, so are we now to believe that Beach City Del Marva is the only place that gyms live on Earth? I don't know, maybe that is the case, but Steven leaving Beach City felt like an escapism from gymly duties. Just like how Pink Diamond couldn't hack it as a diamond, so she became Rose Quartz, and when she couldn't cut it as Rose Quartz anymore, she reset again to become Steven. All I'm saying is, escaping gym stuff is probably not in the cards for good old Stu Ball if that's what he's after. And Steven leaving his entire life behind and making it feel so permanent just left me with this sad, unsatisfied unsettled feeling. I really expected the last few minutes of the show to be dedicated to jumping in time to show all the things that Steven was doing while he was out on the road, but we got nothing! And I know I cannot be the only one who feels miffed that the show brought up this whole thing of Greg's parents still being alive, then offered no meeting or resolution to that situation or anything. That bothered Steven so much that I'm so shocked that they didn't meet him or at least try to and get a rejection letter or something. I just don't see Steven as the type to go, oh, okay, Grandma, Grandpa, I don't know you, I just found out you exist, but we're gonna move on and never talk about that again. So badly, I wanted to see him meet them or at least try. I also would have loved to have seen another 5 or 10 years down the road to kind of have closure on what Steven's life looked like. I know we have gems like Sapphire who can see into the future, so giving us no answer is also kind of like giving us 1,000 different possibilities. You know, we can imagine anything, but I really don't like that notion. I want definitive answers for this Steven, not an endless array of possibilities. What direction did his life go in? Did he ever go to college? Did he ever do anything great job-wise? Did he just settle down and live a quiet life? Can a traveling Steven really work out a long-term relationship with politician Connie? Will they get married? Will they have kids? Will they fuse together for 1,000 years? I mean, is our ending Boy Meets World or the Wonder Years? I need to know! And maybe most importantly, and a question that has never really been answered in the show, will Steven die or will he eventually age to a point where he becomes full-on diamond and just kind of live like a diamond for the rest of eternity? Also, because of some of the dialogue they use, I'm now wondering if Steven is on the road forever or if he'll come back home. A road trip is one thing, and it's certainly like a rite of passage and a great way to work things out, but the whole implication of Steven letting go of pretty much every aspect of his life, from possessions to people, well, that's a lot to contend with. Yes, everybody needs a vacation from their life, and yes, teenagers are going to grow up and leave the house, but to definitively say, hey, I'm an underage teenager and now I'm going to go out into the world and never come home, it just seems a bit premature and harsh. Steven was always so desperate to do gym stuff, and yes, he's done so much and he's been able to basically conquer the universe through kindness, but that doesn't mean that all is right in the world forever. Yes, Steven should be able to have the ability to go out and find himself and do whatever he needs to do, but I would have really felt like that folds back into coming back home to Beach City, being married or living with the crystal gems or whatever. Not to say, hey, I'm out in the world just traveling and goodbye to everyone, maybe forever. Cause yeah, he's gonna stay in touch with the crystal gems, but what about some of the other characters that he doesn't know that well? Is he gonna come back and say hi to Onion? Probably not. And we do know that Steven has a very impactful presence in Onion's life, even if he doesn't express it in a very typical way. So there is some sadness to that leaving. You know, people are gonna die while he's gone or move away, or, you know, even worse, if Steven needs something again in his life, like majorly, Steven might want to come home one day and everything's gone. And I understand that leaving Beach City is a very exciting thing and a very high note to end a series on, but it's also very final. Really, think about it. If the series had ended similarly but with a different context, let's say Steven got on White Diamond's ship and said, goodbye guys, I'm gonna go train to be a diamond now and I'm not gonna be a crystal gem on Earth anymore. Peace out. We all would have felt weird about that too, because it's a very final decision that is not quite what we were expecting. And I wonder, while Steven is out on the road, what happens when the next big thing occurs in his life? Steven has had a lot of surprises, and I'm sure they're far from being over, but even with a therapist, he's still the only half-human, half-gem to ever have existed. So there's no one gem or human that can really help or understand Steven. He needs his network. It takes a village to help a Steven. Steven will need so much help with everything that comes next in his life, and sure, there's phone calls and warp pads, but even though they'll all still be involved with each other, Steven was the glue holding the crystal gems together. Without Steven, and without a looming war present, there's no reason that his family won't untether and wander off in different directions too. So even if Steven does need or want to come home later, he might come back to nothing but Greg lounging around his old house. And actually, speaking of Greg, how did we not get some closure on him? I have been shipping Greg and Barb so hard for years. And Greg even became Sadie's band manager teenager, so it seemed like a perfect fit that Barb would get someone to take care of and Greg would get some of that romantic closure that he deserves. I mean, yeah, it's hard to compete with Rose Quartz, but he's come to peace with the fact that she's not coming back. So why can't Greg move on and be happy with someone else? Boo, Rebecca Sugar for not making that a thing! But back to Steven, who's going to be emotionally supporting him while he's on the road and his issues can overwhelm him really fast. His life really reminds me of Rory from the Gilmore Girls. Steven has grown up in this bubble of a small town where everybody knows him, they love and adore him, they tell him he's great, and so Steven has this huge overinflated sense of being wanted, needed, and important. Steven basically is the sun that Beach City revolves around. Now put Steven in a scenario like traveling or college and suddenly he's not a big fish in a small pond anymore. People don't know who he is, they don't care about him, and he's probably not going to fit in with other humans very well, just like we saw in the roller rink episode. And yeah, some of that awkwardness will be really good to grow Steven's social skills, but if he doesn't learn to adapt quickly, which he might not be able to do, then that can be very damaging to Steven's emotional state. He can easily end up isolated or just living in a van because he never connects with other people to really lay down roots. Much like Rory and the Gilmore Girls, Steven has been so conditioned to feel like he can really do no wrong and he's almost perfect and the whole world loves him. He is really at danger to crash and burn when he figures out that the rest of the planet doesn't care about him as much as Beach City did. This makes the ending so open and scary, which again I think was the point. They were trying to show Steven becoming his own individual, which for him can mean any and everything. But after caring about this character for years, I really needed more to an ending than an endless array of possibilities. Even if Steven had stayed home and they ended the series on the note that everything was going back to normal and they were going to be doing their gym stuff forever, that still gives the viewers a sense that everything's going to be okay and it's all going to stay as we expect it to. You know, Steven would be statically living his life forever, just doing the same things over and over and over and over and over again. And that's what viewers tend to like. We like the predictability. We like being able to say we know what happened after the finale. But especially during the Great Plague of 2020, leaving Steven's future out in this open-ended limbo is just pure torture for me. This is not the time in history that we need uncertainty. Plus, it double hurts me because the original Steven Universe series ended in such a nice way twice. The original Steven Universe series ended where most issues were settled and everyone could just be peaceful and together, so it was a very relaxing, calming ending. Then we had the movie where we got the fantastic Spinell, and again, at the end of that, we really feel like everybody is happy and it's all going back to normal. And is Rebecca Sugar trying to compete with Futurama for how many endings her show can get? Because to leave us all with a happy ending twice just to give us another finale with an uncertain future, that's just cruel. I digress though. How do you guys feel about the Steven Universe future finale? Did it fill your soul, give you meh feelings, or leave you wanting more? I felt like Steven Universe future at least deserved a second season so that we could get deeper into characters we didn't really get to explore and resolve some more things, like those grandparents. But we can't always have what we want. And Steven, I hope you manage to live the best life there is out there for you. Be safe and happy, my diamond, and remember, for the rest of us, be the Steven you want to see in the world. I might be overthinking it, but that's literally my job. Derp times. Okay, I have a huge derp section today, so bear with me. First, again, special shout out to Haley L. from El Dorado Hills, California. She sent me a letter about a week ago, and it was just serendipitous that I had this while I was recording, because I haven't been recording lately because I've been so sick, and I still sound sick, and I'm sorry. But this was the nicest letter, and I really needed this pick-me-up, so thank you so much, Haley. I'm going to write you back soon. And yes, I do write and mail letters back as long as it's a country where I'm able to do that. Although international mail might be suspended for a really long time, but if you're in the US and you're bored, feel free to write me a letter. And since I'm sick, and I really don't think I should be singing because that's going to be cringy as all get out, you already heard that in the beginning, but I'm not sure when or if I'll really get to talk about Steven Universe again, so I want to go back and take some little notes that I had from scripts I didn't finish or things I cut out or abandoned or whatever. So I'm going to read off my unfinished scripts, and I'm just going to look right at the screen and read them. So it's going to be awkward. I'm going to be like this. And remember, they are unfinished, or I abandoned them because they became wrong, or, you know, they might not make sense now because I wrote them back when season 2 was out or something. But hey, let's have a fun little retrospective here. I'm actually really worried that I have corona, but they won't test me. They absolutely refused to do it when I tried. So all I can do is guess, but I have a lot of symptoms, and I still have, and this flu has been hanging on for dear life and won't go away. But anyways, haha. Okay, this was supposed to be my Steven video part 4, which I think this video is around number 20, so this was way back when. Why do the crystal gems use stars? This seems like just an aesthetic choice, but I've really started to wonder a lot about this question lately. Notice that when the Diamond Authority is notated as being all together, they have a symbol of a larger diamond with 4 different colored diamonds inside. Well, honestly, a star is just 5 diamonds put together, so why choose this geometric shape? The crystal gem should want nothing to do with anything diamond-esque. Oh yeah, this is going to be way wrong now. So what if there was a power play going on? Rose wasn't a diamond, she could never be a diamond, but she demanded equal status to them, to become the 5th member of the Diamond Authority. I mean, Rose is constantly said to have told the other gems that they can be whatever they want to be, but what did Rose want to be? It's never really covered. She was a soldier in Homeworld, and she was a soldier on Earth. She spent a few thousand years essentially people watching, but that's not really a thing to be for herself. So what did Rose want out of her life? Well, what if it was to be a diamond, and that's why she snapped and shattered one to prove that she was superior to them. But then, after she did that, she decided that that wasn't the life she wanted or how she wanted to obtain power, so she went a little insane and stopped trying. The Song of Corruption. Something people have mentioned to me over and over again is the Song of Corruption, and I see the merit in that theory, but I also think it's not as solid as I would like. For instance, people have said that all the diamonds need to be together for the song to work, but at the end of the Gem War, there was clearly a diamond missing, so that theory doesn't hold a lot of weight for me. It's also been stated over and over again that corrupted gems occur from a breakdown on the mental side, which I'm not buying that a song could produce. Plus, Rose's bubble isn't soundproof. We know that for certain because Steven talks to Eyeball in space through the bubble, so if the music the gems heard was a corruption song, then the crystal gems shouldn't be spared. I think it's more likely that the diamonds get together and form some kind of weapon based on musical vibrations or something like that. Like Laser Light Cannon the Musical. Man, it's a shame I couldn't use that in another video. That's a great line! Because I understand a scenario where the diamonds were terrified, so they tried to destroy everything before they ran away, but I do not see the benefit of corrupting their own soldiers. Why not let them leave the planet and then activate a corruption song so that only the crystal gems would be affected? You might have a few crystal gems who escape that way, but off of Earth, their numbers would be so small that the rebellion would be crushed once the ships got back to Homeworld. Or the escaped crystal gems would have to be space refugees who were spread across the galaxy. It'd be nothing to really fret over. And after all, wartime is supposed to be when Homeworld gems started running out of resources. So every gem on their side would have been precious to the Diamond Authority. There's no good reason to purposefully corrupt them. Not to mention, Peridot has trouble understanding what corruption even is because there's nothing like it on Homeworld. Since Peridot is an intelligent, research-based, and analytical gem, she has studied Homeworld gems and their history, so if Peridot has never seen anything like corruption in all of her research, that's because Homeworld doesn't know that corruption exists. Peridot also mentions in an episode that her height is indicative to her rarity and importance, but I think there's an additional factor in there too. I believe that a gem's height is based on their power level. Look how tiny rubies are, and they have to stack up to fuse together and thereby become a stronger ruby. Rose, Garnet, and Jasper are all considered the physically strongest gems that we're aware of, and they're also some of the tallest we've ever seen. We know that quartz are meant to be soldiers, so it makes sense that they'd be really big and strong. Even Lapis is taller than Peridot, Ruby, and Sapphire, and we know that even though she's smaller than Garnet, her abilities are impressive. Now, Lapis appears to poof easily in battle, so brute strength isn't her talent, but when you see how much force she has with her water-bending powers, she is a force to be reckoned with. Plus, look at how massive Malachite was. She was comparable in size to Alexandrite, and Alexandrite is 4 gems. Jasper didn't get that huge when she combined with a corrupted gem, so that size is all from Lapis's power level. I think Lapis is only so short solo because her powers are mental, not physical. I know, Sapphire has highly regarded powers too, but it's the power to see into the future, so she can't actually harm anyone directly that way. She can tell enemies to attack based on what she sees, but on her own, Sapphire wouldn't be much in a fight. Hence her little height. Now, moving on, here is another unfinished Steven script, which is just titled Steven Universe Current. I think I wrote this after Change Your Mind came out. I keep getting asked when I'll talk about Steven Universe again, now that quite a few of my videos have been derailed. Honestly, I don't know what happened to the series, and part of me is impressed that it's managed to keep me guessing when so many other shows become predictable, but another part of me wants to reiterate that the entire series has changed in unpredictable ways, and many characters have pulled a 180 and now display completely different personality traits. My videos are always based on the information that's given as it's given. There was no way to foresee that Yellow and Blue Diamond, 2 characters we've been told to fear for years, would suddenly become the equivalent of bumbling lackeys when compared to White Diamond. White seems to be a perfectionist that wants everything perfectly in its place and who pretends to have a soft, approachable demeanor while being very vicious behind closed doors. Wow, that didn't hold up in Steven Universe Future either. Notice her pearl has a broken eye, implying that White Diamond will shoot the messenger and or get abusive without warning. Whoo, again, blaming the wrong person there. Obviously, I was mistaken and White Diamond didn't defect from the Diamond Authority, but what's your explanation for why the Diamond Authority is lacking in resources now? How do you cover these diamond-like figures that do not resemble any of the other diamonds? I don't remember what those... Oh, wait, I think that was from those pyramid drawings maybe that I'm referring to there. I can't remember exactly. I really think my theory makes more sense than what the show is doing now, and that's kind of the point. I don't have access to Rebecca Sugar's brain, and the entire series has already changed based on her whim to resolve the conflict with Blue, Yellow, and Earth, and to usher us into the White Diamond saga. Maybe that means the series is set to be canceled or end soon, so she has to rush character development and story arcs, but to set things up for years, only to force them to fit in ways convenient to the plot. It's frustrating as a theorist. Uh-oh, recording so long I ran out of battery. You guys still with me? Okay, back to the script. For instance, feeling guilty doesn't cover why Yellow Diamond didn't want answers at the trial. Even if she felt bad over Pink, there was a chance to learn new information and not be at fault. Yet Yellow flipped out and poofed gems, refused to listen, and it still doesn't make sense. She's a rational, strong leader, not someone who avoids her problems. And that's where this script fell apart and never got finished. I hope you have enjoyed Steven Universe as much as I have over the years, and we will see you in the next fandom family members. Where's my clacker? My clacker. I can't see anything. I can't see where my clacker went. I'm gross. I know I already referenced the Gilmore Girls, but man, Steven really reminds me of Rory. Rory. I cannot say that name when I'm sick. Well, family members, we're almost done, but I want to invite you to hang out with me in some other places. I'm on Twitter and Instagram as my own personal self, and I have a Facebook page too, but I mostly just post photos over there. And sometimes people say, "Hey McGann, I want to mail you something. How do I do that?" Easy. Just click the About tab on my channel page, and my most current P.O. Box info will be right there. I also run another channel, The Family. It's really a hodgepodge channel where we might post anything. Oh yeah, and I also sell shirts and stickers and stuff with the Family and the Fangirl logos. If that is your cup of tea, I have a link in every description of every video. Finally, if you want to help out the Fangirl channel and make sure I'm putting out video essays for years to come, the best way you can help is by subscribing and watching more of my videos, whether they're new, old, whatever. Maybe even share one or two on social media, help spread the word. episode. People who watch to the end of videos like you helps to tell the site, hey, this is a good video, we should recommend it to other people. So if you made it this far, leave me a comment of something like, hey, I made it to the end. Love ya. See you next time, family members. Bye.